Hello and welcome to my next episode, Successful Entrepreneurs. This is 𝗁𝗵𝗴𝗲𝗃. Today, my guest is Janeen Vosper. Janeen is someone with 20 years of experience in brand authority as a coach and has got 40 years in sales. I cannot ask for a better person for the interview today. Janeen, welcome to my show.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm really pleased to be here. We've been
Thank you.
talking about this for a little while, so this is great.
I know, and today is the day, and thank you very much for coming in. I'm absolutely excited to be hearing more about this. Janeen, you tell us a bit more about 𝗵𝗁𝗴𝗴𝗲, your business.
Yeah. Do you want to know how I got that name?
Please, yeah.
I was at a wedding one day, and I was listening to some really bad speeches. The microphones were held down by their belly button.
Right.
And the speeches, nobody could hear them and nobody was listening to them. And I was searching for a new name for my business. The musical Pitch Perfect was out at the time.
Right.
So after a few glasses of wine, everyone around the table decided that it needed to be Speech Perfect.
Wow.
And that's where we came up with that name.
How simple was that, isn't it? 𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗴𝗲. Now, tell us more about this business, 𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗴𝗲.
So I started it in 2007 while I was working full-time as a general manager of a multi-million-dollar business. So I started it on the side, moved into it full-time in 2018. And what I do is I help people step up to stand out. So they become a brand authority because they are the voice of their business and they know how to articulate their message and get it clearly across. And that's where the sales experience comes in as well.
Absolutely. So that speak up, that's fantastic. I think I did look at the banner. It says step up and stand out. Oh no, step up and stand out. Tell us more about this particular phrase you came up with.
What I find is that what holds people back is putting themselves up the front. And I do work with a lot of professional industries where people are very good at their task of what they do, but they prefer to hide in front of the keyboard and not be out in front, not mentioning accountants and bookkeepers at all, Chris.
Probably I'm not the typical accountant you would notice, maybe.
No, and not everyone is. But what I find is there's so many people that they realise that they are the face of their business. And it doesn't matter how much digital marketing, how much everything they put out there, unless people can recognise them and see them as that authority that they can build trust with because they've connected with them and they figured out that they can solve a problem for them. So they need to step up and then how do they stand out? And by getting very clear in the message and how it's delivered.
That's a good point. Let's talk about this particular point you made. Be clear about your message. Now, how often do you see that people, when they talk, they're not so clear? Is it less common or more common that they're not clear?
There's a few components around here. One is how it's expressed.
Okay.
And a lot of people will, and I've seen this at a lot of events where everyone's got to give a pitch for 60 seconds or 40 seconds, depending on where they are. And they'll be so busy thinking about what they're going to say, they don't hear any other pitch. Right. But when they do, they mumble as they stand up and they mumble as they sit down. Yeah. They don't have some formula. There's formulas that work, that engage people, and they usually don't have a call to action, so it's sort of a bit of a waste if they haven't pitched that well. But what they do is they talk about what they do rather than how they help people. And that's the principle, is what problem am I solving? As you said, I've been working in sales for 40 years. Yes. I've never sold a thing, but I have people buy from me because I solve problems.
Fantastic. Actually, that's another question I was going to ask you. We touched base on the business entrepreneurs sector where they want to talk, say what they want to say, having that message clear. Also, there are employees who need to talk, like accountants, as you said, and there could be some other professions who are behind the keyboard. They would need to talk when they go to a presentation. There's students who want to talk. Everybody who wants to talk. Who's your target audience that you can predominantly help?
And it's interesting you talk about talking, because I have people say, oh, I have complete confidence in getting up and talking.
Yeah.
Talking and speaking professionally are two different things.
Different things.
There's
Yeah.
people that are very comfortable talking one-on-one. But when it comes to speaking in front of a group,
Yeah.
it's a very different experience for them. That's not talking. Most of us could do that, or partly by the time we were 2. It's a different space. But to be able to speak well and have people engaged in what you're saying is what we're talking about. So for my target market, I work in 2 different markets.
Right.
One is I work with sole traders.
Yep.
Who, again, as we talked about, become the brand of their business, need to be able to stand up and be able to speak. And the other, as I work with professionals and small businesses where that might be a sales team, or working with a NDIS provider at the moment where they've got to go out and present to the world. I've worked with lawyers and accountants, and surprisingly people think that lawyers can speak well, but a lot of them work in fields of insurances and parts of it that they never get the opportunity to do it. And then maybe an accounting firm will say, can you come and speak to our firm? And they have to go and do that, and they over-deliver content rather than being able to engage. People they're speaking to, and that's the important factor.
I'm sure you have hundreds of stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Share us a story where probably you went into a scenario where the content was fantastic, but the speech was not delivered, and few key things which you noticed which should improve. Like one thing I noticed is the mic is being held here and it was not clear and people were not listening. Are there anything like that you could share with our audience?
I've got quite a few. Can I tell you my story about
Please.
One of the reasons I really got to the speaking part of
Absolutely,
it as well?
yeah.
I'd always had that confidence and thought I could speak and present well. One of my dearest friends, her mother passed away unexpectedly. I called her auntie. Her husband, uncle, had passed away a couple of months before, but it was expected.
Right.
And the church that they'd been part of for 40, 50 years, the pastor gave him a beautiful eulogy, friends got up to speak. When my auntie passed, the pastor had moved on, the same pastor. There was a brand new pastor who didn't know her, and he said lovely words, but he didn't know her. The family was so much in shock that nobody could speak.
All right, yeah.
And I sat there with my parents. I sat there in the pews and I went, I am never going to be mute again, ever. And it was a big turning point for me, because I'm sure that there's lots of people out there that want to be able to say what they want to say, and not necessarily in that situation, but maybe in a team meeting, or where it's important that they have a voice. And they can't do it. They don't have that confidence and ability to do it. And since then, I've been able to speak at different funerals, unfortunately, and I've had friends come up to me and say, you said exactly what we were thinking, and thank you for doing that. But that's my story as to why I wanted to be able to do it anywhere, speak anywhere, anytime, in front of any audience. That was my goal. But not a funny story, a story where I worked with this law firm, and they engaged me to come and do some speaker training, and because they had spoken to a group of young accountants, and when they'd gone to speak, the accountants were on their phone the whole time, and nobody was paying attention, and they said it just went so badly. We talked about what they did. I said, what happened when you entered the room? And they said, we sat down in the chairs at the front. Well, that's your first mistake. You've got to be able to engage the audience by just going and introducing yourselves and saying hi. And then they showed me the content that they'd spoke about. This is at lunchtime.
Right.
And it could have filled probably a full day.
Right.
It was very technical.
Okay.
And it made them look very smart, but very dumb as well.
Okay.
Because it was too much to it.
Yeah, too much technical.
And so what I teach people to do is how to tell a story.
Yeah.
And the story is what people remember, and that's what engages people. And when you can tell a story, and it doesn't have to be a dramatic story. It can just be, you find it driving from Brisbane to the Gold Coast, you can find a story and build on that makes it relevant. Yeah. But this group, they were just dumbfounded, and it was very uncomfortable for them to be able to relax and tell a story, but they could see the difference and how that engaged. And we just cut the content down by about 10, and it was a lot done.
Fantastic. Like even in that, I mean, I can absolutely relate, because even this interview, the story where you started, I will never forget. And also 2 points, beautiful points, what you made is it's never about the content delivery, you know, go and meet the audience and say hello to them and build a rapport with them. And also it's the storytelling. Another question, my personal question is, with this ChatGPT coming in, all the technical things are being replaced. How important do you think the storytelling is, just for general population, not for business, general population?
The storytelling is still very important. I have been using ChatGPT.
Have you?
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
But for ideas for content, because I've been writing blogs and doing things for so long as well, getting just, you know, a few other dot points or ideas and then formulate it. I haven't tried it to say, to write me a story about something, but I am using it for
this one,
headlines and things like that. It comes up with some good ideas.
Yes. So the ideas are good, and still the delivery is make that big difference.
The delivery, that will never halt. That will never, that's using pause. I think pause is the most powerful asset you have when you're speaking. Being able to add some light and shade in in how your delivery, and that is done with your pitch, whether it's higher or lower, and the tone. So if the tone is more excited, the voice will come up. If it's more solemn or serious, it'll come down. Speaking at a variety of pace.
Right.
And then when you've done all that and you've got all that tied up with a little bow, understanding where your audience is coming from. So are they visual learners, kinesthetic learners, auditory digital? Do I need to use the words to connect with? Yes, you do. Connect with every one of those in the audience, and knowing how to do that. That's an advanced skill though.
Wow, look at that. I was always thinking it's just a content delivery. You know, you have a content, I'm an accountant. If I want to talk about GST, I know that there's a 10% coming in, 10% going out. Yep, I'll say that. And that becomes very technical. But I've never thought of this, that probably for my audiences to understand GST, maybe I might have to do a story. And that will go even deeper in understanding and remembering. One other question is, so people who are watching this interview, they might be shy to approach a professional. What are the things they can do to approach a professional? Or maybe I'll rephrase the question. What would they be going through at this stage now?
Thinking about, you mean?
Yeah, thinking about, yeah.
There's a couple of things that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
One of the reasons a lot of people don't get out to speak is because they're worried about what they'll forget.
Okay.
My mind will go blank. I hear that all the time.
All the time?
One of the big advantages of speaking is nobody knows what you're going to say.
Of course. What a powerful sentence is that? Nobody knows what you're going to speak except you, from the master.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you go blank, you just speak about something else.
People don't know.
This is why I don't like memorizing things, because when you're memorizing, you're really putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
But if you know your topic, you know your GST, you know what you're going to talk about, then if you go blank on one part, then you say something else, or you have a little reserve of a story that you might just be able to bring in. That'll be, that's what I'll use if I go blank. I'll bring in that story. And what I noticed as well is, in this conversation, I've never seen you saying and you've just paused. So that's very important. Do you see a lot of speakers doing and is that distracting? It's very distracting.
Yeah.
I remember I listened to a Deputy Commissioner for Ambulance at a presentation. It was after the tsunami at 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗲 through Indonesia.
Yeah.
And he was talking about what the Queensland Ambulance had done to assist the community. After he'd spoken for about 10 minutes, I turned over at Coaster and I started doing little dots and counting every 5 ums. after 20 minutes, I'd filled the back of the coaster and I hadn't even started 10 minutes.
Wow.
Did we miss what he had to say? Unfortunately, yes. The odd like, so, actually, basically, however, but all of those are not a problem. It's when they're repeated over and over and over again that people subconsciously disconnect from what you're saying. They might not even pick up that you've done lots of ums. I do, unfortunately, and anyone I train, forgive me, because that's what you'll be doing for the rest of your life, is picking up every and ah, is that they don't know what it is, but they've got distracted and they're not listening to the speaker anymore.
So instead you say, you pause.
You pause.
Pause, and that's fantastic. Even within this interview, I've got so many tips already. Another I should get trained on this one.
A lot of people put them as the front of the sentence because we're starting to think.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of people where English isn't their first language.
Yes.
And more so then that comes up at the front of the sentence.
Actually, that's a good one. Let me ask you this question. Do you notice any difference between native English speakers, how they talk and how they present themselves, how fluent they become, and non-native speakers like myself? I'm a migrant. That's the first question. And the second part to it is, if you do see any notice, what are the suggestions you might give, one or two, for a non-native speakers to be fluent?
Okay. English speakers may be fluent. Not many Australian speakers is fluent.
Okay.
It's it's a different thing.
Right.
Australians have got some poor habits when they're speaking.
Right.
And what we tend to do is we run our words together at the end of the sentence and then we drop down.
Okay.
So for people who are non-English speakers, what did they say? We've missed the end of that sentence. Whereas other Australians can usually pick it up unless it gets too quiet.
Right.
We do run our words and we'll say things like water.
Yeah, water.
There's no ER in Australian English.
Yeah.
It's all got an A on the end of
it,
and it's just how people speak. So it makes it very difficult for non-English speakers who have learnt usually American English from television to come to Australia and have no idea what they're saying or how they're saying it because of that running words together in particular. So stop it, Australians. For non-English speakers, slow down. Because Australians, I'm doing this very generally, have got a very lazy ear when listening to other people who've got an accent.
Yes.
And if you're speaking quickly, again, we can't understand it. Just slow down.
Slow down. Fantastic.
And leave a pause. Just leave that pause.
Right. And that's great suggestions for the non-native English speakers. So slow down. Yes, coming from India as well, we tend to speak very fast. I don't know, maybe because of our languages back there, India, China, probably they are faster languages. But yeah, it's great suggestions. So slow down and use more pauses, right, when you're doing the sentence. Fantastic.
And a pause allows somebody to catch up with what you've said as well.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if you're delivering a presentation. Okay, I've got it now. And then you can move on, when somebody can get the information.
Excellent. And let's talk about a bit of body language. When you're sitting and talking, I'll ask you this question. When I'm sitting and talking to I'm standing and moving and talking, do you notice the difference in the voice or not so much?
Definitely.
Yeah?
If you want to step up to stand out, stand up.
Stand up. Yeah. And I've heard this though, like even when you're on the telephone, that it's good that you stand up and talk so other people actually read how you are standing up or the excitement comes through the telephone. Is that true?
80% of communication through a telephone is to do with the tone and the tone of the voice mostly and how that's delivered. It's really important. If you need to have a little bit more excitement in what you do or a little bit more energy, if you've been making lots of phone calls through the day, then definitely stand up. You'll find, I think, a lot of people automatically stand up and start walking when they're making phone calls.
Okay.
And
that helps, and so that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Standing up always makes your voice clearer.
Wow, fantastic. And we touched base on the body language as well. And how how important the hand gestures are. I mean, I know we are deviating from the speech, but probably it's all regarding the speech.
Yeah.
Too much hand gestures, is it distracting, or is it you recommend that do the hand gestures and be expressive?
There's unconscious gestures and conscious gestures.
Right.
A lot of this sort of movement is very unconscious, but it apparently helps us speak.
Okay.
And there's certain nationalities that tend to use their hands a lot more than others. If you want to make an impact with something that you say, and I've done quite a few gestures, like even the telephone, there's different ones that if you want to make an impact, then you try not to use too much gesture. But when you want to make an impact, you say, well, come on, settle down.
Wow.
Bring the gesture in.
Janeen, oh, fantastic. Great tips, Janeen, so far. Fantastic. I'm excited to listening to this one. Question is, if someone wants to contact you to seek help, how can they contact you?
I'm everywhere.
Right.
I am. My website is janeenvosper.com. I've got a YouTube channel. I've had a podcast called We Are Women for about 6 years. And there's 140 episodes up on my YouTube channel, or you can listen to any of your favourite channels. I'm on all of the social media, particularly on LinkedIn, and I always reach out and connect with people on LinkedIn. I think it's important, if you're in business, to be on LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. Excellent, excellent. So, Janeen, once again, I'm sure there are so many stories. Just share us a funny story for our audiences.
I have a funny story. I worked with a person that works in the funeral industry and helping her present and actually getting a promotion because she could speak well. Now, it's not really about a speaking story, but it's a funny story.
Please. Yeah, share it.
Share stories. They broke down on the motorway in the Hurst on the way to the funeral. And it was just, she was devastated. And we'd done a fair bit of work on her confidence and ability, and it's terrible. All the cars were coming past and beeping as this person's laying in the back, and they're running very late. Anyway, they finally get another vehicle, transfer the casket out of the vehicle on the freeway, and they arrived nearly 30 minutes late. And she was devastated. It was her first role in a new position. And when they got there, everyone was out the front, and they just cheered and cheered and cheered. And when she stepped out of the car, she said, "What's going on?" And they said, "We always told our father he'd be late for the funeral."
So even after, sorry. It was good.
So it's not a speaking story, but this is the sort of thing, though. If you've got a story that's relevant to what you're doing, then finding a way to, add it to make humour or serious or what.
Fantastic. Its father was always late and still late. Oh, fantastic. Maybe I'll share another story which Jerry Seinfeld shares on this. He shared this one because we are talking about this public speaking. Apparently the first most scared thing for people is public speaking, and the second one is death. So if you're in a funeral, people say you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. So
I've heard that one many times, and for some people the fear is that bad.
Yeah,
it is. Anyway, in this case, it was a different story. But
but coming back to that one though, it doesn't need to be that scary. There are some formulas as you shared with us. There are gestures you shared with us. There are some techniques. There are some tips. There's so much content already that people can apply, which makes them more confident and better speakers. But there is just few. But if they come and seek a professional advice from yourself, that professional guidance, they'll be much better speakers.
It does make a big difference. And just a little tip, if you are doing something that brings tears to your eyes, push your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and it does stop the tears. So you're able to get some control over what you're saying.
Janeen, we spoke a lot about the public speaking, but you also did brand authority coaching. Tell us a bit more about that.
It's really interesting. You know, sometimes in a business you've got to step back to look at what you do.
Yeah.
And I had this huge portfolio of communication training, speaker training, sales training, goal setting, LinkedIn, social media, a bit of digital, all of that.
Right.
All of those were just little different compartments.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was away on holidays last year and it just went this realization that it's all to do with becoming the brand of your business and being able to be seen by outsiders that you are an authority in an industry if you've got all those skills. And so now I've created packages where all of those things are bundled together,
Right.
and people can get the whole package and be able to then
Yep.
have the skills to be able to be seen as a leader in their industry.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I'm sure our viewers will approach you and utilize that services. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Janeen, it's been a pleasure having you on my show. And yeah, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. Loved it.